Okay, we are now live. We are live right now. Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hello.
Hi again.
Start the hug train.
Sorry. Group hug. Nice to see you, man. Good for you.
I'm okay.
Is your family with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
Anyway, we're live. Oh, careful.
Okay, I'll give you a hug. Hey. Don't give her a hug. Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
How are you?
Doing alright. Running on fumes here.
alright. Running on fumes, you say? Is that coffee?
Probably would hurt. Oh, nice. Man, that is sweet. Okay, so you got a bad pot on here?
Yeah. Well, I think the pot is good. It's the knob and connection I've tested. I fixed them before I don't think I'm going to have to do any rewiring. So, I'll let you know. I'm like, getting honest, like, hey, this is like totally foreign.
I put up the song playlist just so that they weren't looking at our YouTube live stream page.
Yeah, because it confuses me. It's like, it dazzles me with this.
That is sweet, man. Too.
Hey, hi. Hey. Nice to see you. Yeah. You're too or no? Oh, there's shoes. You stuck in. You're up there.
You need any help?
A couple weeks to be able to play Primus.
Play lead on bass, huh? Oh, you moved that.
Your shoes
Yeah, room. Would you think that I moved out right here. Every time I move, oh no, you're talking about this movie.
It's way back here.
But with the same size of line, right?
Okay, hold on, friend, hold on. I've heard that, but I have never seen it.
Good to see you,
So
brother.
all those pictures that you have in there, I have cameras.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't expecting
So
the rain.
basically, unless they're
I
don't do these
like, oh, he asked this question.
Right.
That
And you say,
Yeah. So, but I noticed.
Uh-oh, I lost my column. Here, you want it?
So what is that?
Right.
I wasn't expecting it. 10 o'clock, I see the Thunderhead building. I heard a couple of shots of thunder. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yes. As far as going into the deeper part of it, yes, they do pull me. Yes, because until I really started studying the scriptures and not doing them on the scriptures, like 90 days, I was like, where did
I love the rain, so do whatever we gotta do. Group text.
Okay, cool.
I have a. You guys know that?
Oh, sure.
Alright, I'm going downstairs. Use the rest.
How are you? I'm doing alright. Oh, and I got one. In the Calvin's, well, I are right presupposition. It's not possible. Right. Important doctrine they're missing out. Planning with their own doctrine.
So I
I don't know what to tell you. Oh, they're amazing.
Shabbat Shalom. How are you today? Good. Did you have a good night playing with your toys last night? Did you? Did you guys sleep good from all the jumping on the trampoline?
We got a really late this morning.
I can see a whole bunch. Better than I've ever seen before. Are you saying that because I don't have my glasses on? I have new eyeballs in. I have plastic ones over my eyes. Yes. She's got contacts, special ones. You know how Cindy has glasses? To help her see better. He says, oh, I took them off. You know, I could see, but I have special. You can see them on my eyes. 100 years later,
Shalom, shalom.
Alright, just put this down. So, I can
How's it going?
Oh, I just got my
You still have them pretty regularly?
Gonna finish off the drywall.
Praying for that to
I didn't get dressed up like that. Yeah, well, she's going to score this one. That's good. I'm doing good. How about you? All right.
Yep.
Show me something, dude.
They are. That's how I
No, wait.
Oh, and he's this big.
Oh, yes, we did.
I lost 2 cups of coffee.
Oh, you guys now I'm yours.
Maybe it's contagious. The rain did it to us. Made us all wet.
We had surgery problem. Yeah, big birthday?
Yeah.
I probably forgot.
You know what you are? But this is, I'll tell you a little bit of the story.
That's good.
Jerk? Because, you know, I get things about it.
Nice to see you. Heather?
Kind of.
Happy
Which
birthday.
I can understand. Oh, when I told her,
Brother?
happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday. Whose birthday is it? Everyone.
Everyone's birthday.
We just didn't announce it. It's everyone's birthday.
We have one birthday a year for everybody?
No,
No, everyone.
Oh.
July.
How many birthdays do you have?
I think there's 3 yesterday.
How many?
Caleb, Judah, and Heather. And Shai?
Anyway, so what it is my mom's
Is that where you see it?
they were a dairy farm just back. So I used to be operation and became Mennonite. And anyway, and so she was just a short little thing. And, Uncle Lewis was built about like you, looked like Santa Claus.
Okay.
Beard and everything. But anyway, they were really neat people. One time we were back there because my dad was 8 of his kids, so my dad would stay here and then where we lived, and then some of his kids and mom would go there and visit. He had to stay here and work. He didn't have enough money to afford to go too.
Got a sunburn.
And so we would go for a couple of weeks. And so my dad Lizzie, I said, "How you doing, Lizzie?" She goes, "I'm not going to the box." You got to realize this is actually 70s, 70s. That's kind of different. What do you mean by that? Because, you know, you're good looking in our day. She goes, well, I just don't feel too peppy.
Shabbat Shalom, brother. How are you?
So what she meant was the fox has to be on its toes all the time. It's got to be smart,
The
wise,
best place there.
it's got to catch things and to
How are you, Prince?
to not be a habit predator to catch it. So it meant a whole different thing. I like that.
I like in the military, they'll say frosty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout. Yeah.
So after I told them that, and accepted
I'm
silver
glad at
fox.
least once or twice.
And the reason I named her that is because when we were doing that,
You know he
camp,
got his license.
so she'd come in and say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I was like, why didn't I think of that?
It took him 3 weeks. I was hoping.
Knows what's going on.
Yeah, she had a brain.
I used
I
to
have taken the test
stay frisky one time by mistake.
because
Say
I
frisky.
didn't have any
Frisky.
friends.
No, I meant frosty.
I had $400 to drive. Started school on Monday, and Friday take him to drive. Same week.
That's it.
Yeah. This guy did this when I first started out with design. He's all, are you sure that we're ready to go down this road? I'm like, yes. And he's all, no, I'm all, I have to learn how to drive. One, from having never driven in my life, not even found a driver's in a car, to actually pass
But
the
it's not,
driver's test
honey,
in
it's
5
not up
minutes.
to me. It's already prearranged. So unless,
Yeah. And
unless
so
we're
for
short
someone to say to me,
there's already.
oh no, I'm not ready. Yes, you are.
I think Miss Lana's down for a volunteer today. Do you know if you want to? I think Adrian's lead because Mama's up here today.
I think Josiah's with the children.
I was down there last week. So I think it's maybe Josiah, Lana. They usually do Dave, Josiah, and Russell today.
Technically, it was supposed to be Russell last week, but they don't need him.
So then you have to be out in the kids' class, and they have to take turns.
because you're a kid. Well, actually, you're not.
He's going to be supervising the children.
Oh,
You're young.
technically not until but I am almost. We're getting close, very, very close.
Then when you're 13, you can have a bar mitzvah.
I've been practicing, but I realized my practice at this rate probably.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you did. Okay. I'll bring it out. Here.
There's
a bait. Yeah. So it kind of brings everything
I
together.
know.
Well, you also bought a ampli.
I know, and I
Thrift
wanted
store.
to
I
call,
found
but
the
we're
amplifier at the thrift store.
surprise them.
It's like, oh, this is a good sign. I got it real cheap, and it's a good amp too. Or a good amplifier. It's too loud for this house, but I can turn it way down. But anyway,
Yeah, well, we got
it's like,
it
oh, I
right.
got an amp. Okay, maybe I'm supposed to get a bass. So I found this used. And it had needed repair, but I can do the repair.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
so
That's a good
like,
You can do.
Yeah, right.
That's the bass line in that song.
The most well-known bass line ever. Yeah, it's because I'm I have a big stomach.
Yeah.
I can probably play it down here.
Yeah. It looks good on you.
You made it special.
Hello, bro.
We're a bass row right now.
Brother,
How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you. Good, busy, but it's good. It's Shabbat.
Yeah, amen.
Oh.
We're gonna say hi to Luke.
Hello, Lou. How are you?
I'm going away.
Oh,
Blessed be his name. I'm happy.
I'm touching that top part.
That's a fixed invasion.
Yeah, I was gonna force strength, but
I have to try to play that after it, like when everything settles down. Plug it in and
go slap it.
You leading the Shabbat program today, bro? Let's pray for you.
Huh? Okay.
Michael? Michael?
I don't know how to play baseball. Just hold it. Just figures.
Mimi, hello.
Oh, you're losing water, Mimi.
You just had to do that, didn't you?
You gotta go back there.
Hey, Brady.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm moving somewhere.
Hello.
Well, you look fancy today.
Oh, thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, Miss Mimi.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, brother. Good surprise to have you here today.
How are you?
Yeah, we were getting late until I got here to surprise you.
Oh, you did? Right outside?
Yeah.
You can play a few minutes.
Like that for I tore my patella tendon and both knees.
Oh, no. No way.
Oh, are you social distancing?
Shabbat Shalom. I tried to warn her, but she won't.
Oh, alright. Yeah.
Social distance. I tried to warn her.
I've already had coronavirus.
I think I had it.
Oh, okay.
You know how I don't get my hands washed.
Strangers.
Yeah, I come last week.
I know.
Then you didn't do your opposite. Yeah, I noticed.
I've shaved them for so long.
Yeah.
Football.
Oh, yeah.
Hair never grew during it.
I got bad ankles from playing. I played volleyball. Oh, wow.
We had a semi-pro team and I was working up to those coaching. Lady, the sheriff's it's the only place we can get a job. I made some help.
And you're like, that's all I want to do. I never got finished.
It's gonna be a good day. Let me find my spot.
Michael had me prepare for you a song playlist that you can play. All you gotta do is click on the first one, and it'll play all the way through.
Okay.
That's all. It's the little traffic cone icon down below.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
You don't have to be hard.
No.
It's beautiful. Huh?
You're going to play it?
That's Mike's.
Atlanta practice is at $20. I lost a couple teams. Did lose a couple teeth. So I wasn't
We're showing you
I got lost. My back hurt. Kids. We're pulling out, so I still had two of the guys. So I had to have a sensitive. It wasn't cheap either.
It was a birthday party. Yeah, good.
You guys aren't on the group thing anymore, are you?
The text.
Yeah.
Seems to have a new face.
Yeah, well, she's not on there no more. Yeah, she's off it. She actually has an email. Said she didn't want to be part of the group anymore. She's not on there anymore. But it was for everybody in the group.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should get back on there. It was just, I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, it was going constantly.
Everybody.
Have a good week?
Yeah, it's been long. I'm just gonna say hi to I know this. Oh, I'm happy. Activist doing house run.
That's fun.
No.
I didn't bring mine.
That's just letting her go through.
I so went to everyone else.
I think she wanted.
Say hi to Jeremy. You got it.
Welcome. All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, you're here. When you're here, Jason. Oh, let me move that.
Hi, Mr. Kayla.
How are you?
Can I have a hug? Are those your names, please?
You don't got that app on there, the Shofar app, where you blow into it? Yeah. Like, yeah, like, there's some app, like,
How are you, Mr. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too.
very first pastor we had ready to drop by
This is my granddaughter Haley.
Hi, Haley.
Hi. You guys can talk to her sometime. I won't introduce her because she'll forget all your names if I do.
Okay. My name is Mephibosheth Chef.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, yeah.
I need the Shalom and the Shabbat.
Yeah. And we stopped by a couple days ago. I introduced her to Maya and your daughter.
Lorenzo, you have to roll your arm.
Lorenzo. And the other side. Oh, yeah.
I'll get down my.
Oh, dude, you sound good.
Yeah, I'll get the down ones done later.
Shalom. Yes.
Good. How was you? How was your week? I don't know. Actually, you see something.
Good.
I was counting on you. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
They look so much like actors.
Just like this last weekend.
I grabbed it for
Was that?
Is there anybody in the
You didn't start it that.
Oh yeah.
It's in a pretty good time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was actually like very good. I was actually you get like certain stages that are crazy. Certain stages that just go, really good. I think I was well, the thing is, sometimes I want yeah, actually. I told him I just wanted to pull off the top of it.
Hey, where you going? Where you going? Yeah, it's good evening. Let's make a sandwich out. Yeah. Yeah.
I walked in. Well, I gave Jason. I told him, I said, there's your haircut.
Amen.
Thank you, brother. The youth would be 13 Yeah, so we're just announcing that the youth are.
Okay, I have an announcement section there.
Okay, yeah.
I can do that first. I can do some stuff first and then do music.
It's not whatever order you want is fine with me, but it's just I want to make sure before normally they would leave, and I'm not gonna do that. All right.
Okay. Okay, slideshow.
The little ones.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, come on in. Thank you. That's all. Man. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. Yeah, my voice doesn't carry.
All right. All right. So we'll just start out with Shema. Okay. So I know how you just sat down. Let's do it. This one's a little different here. We can still do it. Have June lead this here, if you would, brother. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam Vayed. Yahweh Yahweh Elohecha, Bechol Amecha, Bechol Nafshecha, Bechol Meodecha, Ve'ayu Hagarim Ha'ele, Asher Anochi Mesavecha Hayom, Alavovecha, Veshinamtam Levanecha, Vedibartam, Veshivtecha Vedetecha, Uvelektecha Vaderech, Uvshemlecha Umecha, Uvshartam Leota Yadecha, Vehayu Letotapot Veinenecha, Uvukavtam Al Mezuzot Vetecha, Vevisharecha, Ve'ata Erecha Kamocha, Ani Yahweh. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh or Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your mind. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart. And you shall impress them upon your children. And you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, on your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh. All right. So we're going to pray for the, you guys can be seated now. We're going to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, pray for the peace of this nation, pray for the leaders of Israel and the leaders of this nation and the leaders of Israel, and prayer for the congregation of Yahweh, and then we'll have a general for needs of the assembly. We'll include healing, obviously, for anybody who your heart is set upon, and I pray that the Father will bless them. So, Avenu Malkeinu, my Father, my King, I praise you and I thank you. Father, I pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. I pray that it be a praise in all the earth. I pray drive your enemies from there and gather together your people. That your people hear your words and do them and rejoice and be healed, and your land will be healed, Father. I pray, Father, for the peace of this nation which we are dispersed in, Father, and I pray that in the areas where your people are scattered, Father, I pray that wherever they are, all over the earth, that you would protect them, you would hedge them, protect them, you shamar them, keep them safe from the enemy who would seek to destroy them, those who come to steal, kill, and destroy, Father. I pray for the leaders of Israel and of the leaders of this nation, Father. And I pray that they would not put their hand against your, not your mighty ones, but the one of your, the apple of your eye, Father, the ones that you keep your eye on, the ones whom you have chosen from amongst all the nations of the earth, Father. I pray that anyone who puts their hand against your people for harm, Father, let them reap the reward of the wicked Haman or whomever else seeks to put, who has in the past put their hand against your chosen people. Father, I pray that your entire congregation, Father, that we would be found righteous in your sight, Father, that you would guide us into the ways of righteousness, so that you would find us worthy to heal us, to pour out your Spirit upon us, to pour out your loving kindness, Father. For you take care of us day in and day out. All of the bread that we receive that keeps our bodies strong and whole, Father, that comes from you, for you are mighty. Abba, I pray for any ailment that anyone has in the assembly they be relieved of it, Father. Let the blessing of Shalom come upon this assembly, and I pray for that for the entire your entire congregation scattered throughout the earth, Father. I pray that we would become one with your Spirit, Father, that we would be moldable, and that we wouldn't have stony hearts, Father, but we would have hearts of moldable clay, that you could build vessels of honor and beauty for your esteem, Father. I praise you, Abba, and I pray for the protection of this property and your people all over the earth, Father, that the four quarters of this property, no harm shall come, no contentious spirit shall come, that the wickedness would be checked at the mezuzah, and Father, that the spirit of contention would not dwell in this place, but that we would be here to learn, Father. Or we must decide, did we come to learn or did we come to teach, Father? We came to grow in you. I pray that all my brothers and sisters come to learn and grow in you, Father. I love you, Father, and I praise you. And I thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
Are there any general issues that anybody wanted prayer for?
Just for Crystal.
Okay. Okay. That can get rough too.
Just for strength, for hope, for peace, for the days coming ahead, and that we will, for those of us that are kind of shy about speaking out to other people about our faith, that we would become brave, that we would have brave hearts.
Understood. Okay. Anything else? Good. Be a light. Okay. Abba Father, I pray for our sister Crystal. I pray that you would strengthen her, and I know that this can be very, very difficult. And pregnancy is a very tough task that you've asked women to perform, and I pray that you'd strengthen her for this cause, for bringing forth new life into the world. Is such a blessing, Father, and I'm grateful that you have blessed my brother's household with the amount of children, and I pray that you strengthen him, that he can continue to do your work and infuse the children with your written word, Father, that they would walk in your path, and that you would be a lamp unto their feet and a light unto their path, Father. I pray that you would help us, to those of us who are shy, to speak about what we believe in. Father, I pray that you would give us the chutzpah, the strength to stand up and teach what you would have us to say, Father, and to teach it truthfully, Father. But let us know when we are to speak and when we are to be silent, Father. Not that we go out and just say whatever. We make sure we don't say anything incorrect, Father. Please help us to go no further than the words that you would have us speak, Father. And that we would reflect that light that you shine down, Father. That we be willing vessels for your service. Love you, Father. We praise you in Yahshua HaMashiach's name. Amen. All right. So announcements, Brother Mike.
I'm not aware of all the announcements, so if you have anything else. But one thing I was going to say is today we're going to have youth that is 13 and above stay in the meeting with us for the whole of the meeting. And then just the youngins will go downstairs or wherever their respective classes are.
So next Shabbat will be in our place. The address is 1473 Varsity Drive. It's going to be sent out through an email and as well as our text messages. Kindly park. Most of us should park alongside Canmore. So that's really straight. Probably 10 parcel feet in that street, Canmore Street. If you guys are interested in baptism next Shabbat, that will be accommodated. So just let me know through email or text. So Shabbat next Saturday at the Frank.
Awesome. All right.
So before, when you're coming in from downhill, Canmore is a side street, which is not so finished. So that it's probably just
Like 2 houses on the right, if you come around that park, and the other way is on the 2 houses.
Prescott Valley. And then up on that big hill, looks like a castle on top. When I send out the email, I'll put a map. Is there going to be a shuttle service?
Yeah, wait to your house.
Wait at the sprout.
I can get there early enough.
All right.
Any other announcements?
Good.
We're still just working on live music, so just anyone who wants to participate has some inclination to learn an instrument or play an instrument. Talk to me. We're practicing some songs. It'll be a while. All right.
Anything is good. You should hear it. Yeah, right there.
Okay, so schedule for today, we're going to read the Torah and the HafTorah portion. We'll have a little bit of music here in a second, but we're going to read the Torah, HafTorah portion. We'll break for Oneg. We'll read the Brit HaDasha. We'll have a teaching, and then we'll have midrash. Okay. And here's our portions here. I'll leave it at that. We'll switch over to the music section. I'll start the music now.
You are the only one strong enough to raise me from the dead. You are the only master enough to cover all my sin. So fix my eyes on you, 'cause you're my hope. Yes, I want you. You break these chains, set me free. How I need you more. You are the only strong enough to raise me from the dead. You are the only master enough to cover all my sin. You are called, you are cast this heart. Your grace, Lord, is so wonderful. It makes me free. It makes me free to live. Fix my eyes on you, 'cause you are Lord. Yeshua, I love you. You break these chains, oh, set me free. Oh, how I need you more. I need you more. I need you more. I need you more. Yeshua, I want you. So fix my eyes on you, 'cause you're my hope. Yeshua, I want you. You break these chains, Lord, set me free. Oh, how I need you, I need you more. I need you, I need you more. Yeshua, I love you. I need you more. He's not broken. He won't hide. Who can understand the strength and wisdom of Adonai? We will wait upon the Lord. He will renew our strength. We will find our strength in His mighty name. We will run and not weary. We will walk, we won't faint. We will wait on the Lord. He is faithful through the ages, leading us darkness into light. So fix your gaze on Him who goes before us. Adonai, Adonai. We will wait upon the Lord. He'll renew our strength. We will find our His mighty name. We will run out for weary. We will walk, we won't faint. We will wait, we will wait. He made His people, so like eagles. He made His people, so like eagles. We will wait upon the Lord. He'll renew our strength. We will find our great hope in His mighty name. We will run our faith. We will walk, we won't faint. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord.
Is that how it's supposed to have words?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in there.
Right. Normally that's a live version. Those of you who are on hallucinogenics, you're welcome. Sorry. All right. So start out in Numbers chapter 19:1. Oh yeah, you can. We can dismiss the little ones.
Little ones can go to their classes.
Shabbat Shalom. Jesus.
Welcome.
Hi.
That's Michael.
Sean.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, how many people do you have? 4. So maybe pull in another chair. Come on in and have a seat.
Yeah.
Fine to have you guys here.
Or did we have more chairs up here?
Bring in one more chair.
Are they outside?
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's hear some.
Yeah, that's right. All ready to start at 4. Maybe.
Where do you want?
Maybe one.
Got it?
I can start if you want whenever we're ready.
Nervous.
Go ahead.
All right. We probably get started.
Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, "This is the statute of the law which Yahweh has commanded. Speak to the people of Israel, that they bring you a red heifer without spot, in which is no blemish, and which has never yoke. And you shall give it to Eleazar the priest, and they shall bring it outside of the camp, and they shall slaughter it in his presence. And Eleazar the priest shall take of this blood with his finger, and sprinkle this blood towards the front of the tent of meeting 7 times. Then he shall burn the heifer in his sight, its skin, and its flesh, and its blood, and its dung he shall burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood, and hyssop, and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in the water. And afterward he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until the evening. He who burns her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in the water, and shall be unclean until the evening. A man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and lay them up outside the camp in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the congregation of the people of Israel for the water for impurity. It is a sin offering. He who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. And it shall be to the people of Israel and to the stranger who lives as a foreigner among them for a statute forever. He who touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. The same shall purify himself with the water on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he doesn't purify himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whoever touches a dead person, the body of a man who has died, and doesn't purify himself, defiles the tabernacle of Yahweh. And the soul shall be cut off from Israel. Because the water for impurity was not sprinkled on him, he shall be unclean. His uncleanliness is yet on him. This is the law when a man dies in a tent. Everyone who comes in the tent and everyone who is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. Every open vessel which has no covering bound on it is unclean. Whoever in the open field touches one who is slain with a sword, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. For the unclean, they shall take of the ashes of the burning of the sin offering, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop, and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it on the tent, and on all the vessels, and on the persons who were there, and on him who touched the bone, or the slain, or the dead, or the grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle on the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall purify himself. And he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be clean at evening. But the man who shall be unclean, and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from the midst of the assembly, because he has defiled the sanctuary of Yahweh. The water for impurity has not been sprinkled on him. He is unclean. It shall be a perpetual statute to them. And he who sprinkles the water for impunity shall wash his clothes. And he who touches the water for impunity shall be unclean until evening. Whatever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and that soul that touches it shall be unclean until evening.
What do I want to do? Chapter 20? Okay.
And the children of Israel, all the congregation, sing into the wilderness of sin. The people of the Kadesh, Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, Moshe contended with Moshe, so, saying, if only we had died when our brothers died before Yahweh. Why have you brought us up to the assembly of Yahweh into this wilderness, that we and our livestock should die here? And why have you brought us up out of this island to bring us into the sea of chains? Not a place for grain or figs or vines and pomegranates, and there is no water to drink. And Moshe and Aharon went from the presence of Israel to the door of the tent of appointment, and they fell on their faces. Then the assuming Yahweh appeared to them. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, take the rod and assemble a congregation, you and your brother Aharon, and you shall speak to the rock before their eyes, and it shall give its water. And you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their livestock. And Moshe took the rod from before Yahweh as he commanded him. And Moshe and Aharon assembled the assembly before the rock, and he said to them, here now, you rebels, shall we bring water for you out of this rock? Then Moshe lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod, and much water came out, and the congregation and their livestock drank. Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aharon, because you did not believe me to set me apart in the eyes of the children of Israel. Therefore, you do not bring this assembly into the land which I have given to them. These were the waters of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with Yahweh, and he was set apart among them. And Moshe sent messengers from Kadesh to the sovereign of Edom. This is what your brother Israel said. You know that all the hardship that has befallen us, and all the fathers went down to Mitzrayim and dwelt in Mitzrayim a long time. And the Mitzrayites did evil to us and our fathers. And we cried out to Yahweh. And he heard our voice, and he sent the messengers and brought us up out of Mitzrayim. And see, we are in Kadesh, a city at the edge of your border. Please let us pass over through the land. We will not pass over through fields, vineyards, nor drink water of wells. We should go along with the sovereign's highway. We do not turn aside, right or left, until we have passed over your border. But Edom said to him, do not pass over through me, lest I come out against you with the sword. And the children of Israel said to them, we shall go by the way of the highway, and if I or my livestock drink of your water, then we shall pay for it. Let me only pass over on foot without a word. But he said to them, do not pass over. And Edom came out against them with many men and with a strong hand. So when Edom refused to let Israel pass through his border, Israel turned away from him. The children of Israel and all the company departed from Kadesh and came to the Mount Horeb. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aharon and Mount Horeb near the border of Edom, saying, Aharon is to be gathered to his people, for he is not to enter the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my mouth to have the water of Meribah. Take Aharon and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to the mountain of Horeb. Strip Aharon of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son. For Aharon is to be gathered to his people and die there. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded, and they went up to Mount Horeb before the eyes of all the congregation. And Moshe stripped Aharon of all his garments and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aharon died there at the top of the mountain. And Moshe and Eleazar came down the mountain. And when all the congregation saw that Aharon was dead, all the house of Israel wept for Aharon.
Do 21.
Okay. Yeah. When the Canaanite, the king of Arad, who lived in the Negev, heard that Israel was coming up by the way of Atharim, he fought against Israel and took some of them captive. And Israel vowed a vow to Yahweh and said, if you will indeed give this people into my hand, then I will devote their cities to destruction. Yahweh heeded the voice of Israel and gave over the Canaanites, and they devoted them and their cities to destruction. So the name of the place was called Hormah. From Mount Hor, they set out by the way to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, and the people became impatient on the way. And the people spoke against the Elohim and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and we loathe this worthless food. Then Yahweh sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many people of Israel died. And the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against Yahweh and against you. Pray to Yahweh that he may take away the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people. Yahweh said to Moses, make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten, when he sees it, shall live. So Moses made a bronze serpent and set it on a pole. And if a serpent bit anyone, he would look at the bronze serpent and live. And the people of Israel set out and camped at Oboth. And they set out from Oboth and camped at Abiram in the wilderness that is opposite Moab, toward the sunrise. From there they set out and camped in the valley of Zered. From there they set out and camped on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that extends from the border of the Amorites. For the Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Therefore it is said in the book of the wars of Yahweh, Wahi in Suphah, and the valleys of Arnon, and the slope of the valleys that extends to the seat of Ar, and leans to the border of Moab. And from there they continue to Beer, that is the well of which Yahweh said to Moses, gather the people together, so that I may give them water. Then Israel sang this song, spring up, O well, sing to it. The well that the princes made, and the nobles of the people dug, with a scepter and with their staves. And from the wilderness they went on to Mattanah, and from Mattanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth to the valley lying in the region of Moab by the top of Pisgah, that looks down on the desert. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, let us pass through your land. We will not turn aside into field or vineyard. We will not drink the water of a well. We will go by the king's highway until we have passed through your territory. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his territory. He gathered all his people together and went out against Israel in the wilderness and came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. Israel defeated him with the edge of the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Jabbok and as far as to the Ammonites. For the border of the Ammonites was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel settled in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon and in all its villages. For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and taken all his land out of his hand as far as the Arnon. Therefore, the ballad singers say, "Come to Heshbon, let it be built, let the city of Sihon be established. For fire came out from Heshbon, flame from the city of Sihon. It devoured Ar of Moab, and swallowed the heights of the Arnon. Woe to you, Moab! You are undone. Your people, O people of Chemosh. He has made his sons fugitives, and his daughters captives, to an Amorite king, Sihon. So we overthrew them. Heshbon, as far as Dibon, perished. And we laid waste as far as Napha. Fire spread as far as Medeba. Thus Israel lived in the land of the Amorites, and Moses sent to spy out Jazer, and they captured its villages and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against them, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. But Yahweh said to Moses, "Do not fear him, for I have given him into your hand, and all his people and his land. And you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who lived at Heshbon." So they defeated him and his sons and all his people until he had no survivor left, and they possessed his land.
There's one more verse in Numbers.
Is there enough?
21.
Yeah, just 21.
Just 22.
Okay, go ahead and read it.
And the children of Israel set out and encamped in the desert plains of Moab beyond the Yarden of Yer.
Amen.
Judges 11:1 through 33. You want to do it?
And Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty brave one, but he was the son of a whore. And Gilead brought forth a son. And the wife of Gilead bore a son, and when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out, and said to him, "You shall not have an inheritance in the house of our father, for you are the son of another woman." And Jephthah fled from his brothers, and dwelt in the land of Tob. And worthless men banded together with Jephthah, and went out with him. And it came to be, sometime later, that the children of Ammon fought against Israel. And it came to be, when the children of Ammon fought against Israel, that the elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said to Jephthah, "Come, and you shall be our commander, and let us fight against the children of Ammon." But Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me, and drive me from my father's house? Why have you come to me now when you are in trouble?" And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "That is the reason we have turned to you, that you shall go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." And Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you take me back home to fight against the children of Ammon, and Yah gives them to me, am I to be your head?" And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "Yah is witness between us, if we do not do according to your words." Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people set him over them as head and commander. And Jephthah spoke all his words before Yah in Mizpah. And Jephthah sent messengers to the sovereign of the children of Ammon, saying, "What is between you and me, that you have come to fight against me and my land?" And the sovereign of the children of Ammon said to the messengers of Jephthah, "Because Israel took my land when they came up out of Mitzrayim, from the Arnon as far as the Jabbok, and to the Yarden, and now give back those lands in peace." But Jephthah again sent messengers to the sovereign of the children of Ammon, and said to him, "This is what Jephthah said, Israel did not take the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. For when they came up from Mitzrayim, And Israel walked through the wilderness as far as the Sea of Reeds and came to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the sovereign of Edom, saying, Please let me pass over through your land. But the sovereign of Edom would not listen. And they also sent to the sovereign of Moab, but he refused. So Israel stayed at Kadesh. Then they went through the wilderness and around the land of Edom and the land of Moab, and came to the east side of the land of Moab, and encamped beyond Arnon. But they did not enter the border of Moab, for Arnon was the border of Moab. And Israel sent messengers to Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, sovereign of Heshbon, and Israel said to him, Please let us pass over through your land into our place. But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass over through his border. And Sihon gathered all his people together, and they camped in Yahatz and fought against Israel. And Yah, Elohim of Israel, gave Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they struck them. But Israel took possession of all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that land. Thus they took possession of all the border of the Amorites, from Arnon to the Yabok, and from the wilderness to the Yarden. And now Yah, Elohim of Israel, has driven out the Amorites from before his people Israel. Should you then possess it? Whatever Chemosh, your mighty one, gives you to possess, do you not possess it? And all that which Yah, our Elohim, takes possession of before us, we possess. And now, are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, sovereign of Moab? Did he ever strive against Israel? Did he ever fight against them? While Israel, am I supposed to 33? While Israel dwelt in Heshbon and its villages, and in Ahor and its villages, and in all the cities along the banks of Arnon for 300 years, why did you not recover them within that time? For I have not sinned against you, but you are doing me evil by fighting against me. Let Yah, the judge, judge today between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon. But the sovereign of the children of Ammon did not listen to the words which Yiphtah had sent him. And the spirit of Yah came upon Yiphtah, and he passed through Gilead and Menashe, and passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed on toward the children of Ammon. And Yiphtah made a vow to Yah, and said, If you give the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall belong to Yah, and I shall offer it up as an ascending offering. Yiphtah then passed on toward the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yah gave them into his hands. And he struck them from Ar so far as Minnith, 20 cities, and to Abel Cherubim with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were humbled before the children of Israel.
Kind of important to know your history, huh? You know what's rightfully yours and what's not when the enemy comes and tries to take it from you. All right, so we got another portion here in Isaiah 66.
It says, Yahweh, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. What is the house that you would build for me? And what is the price of my rest? All these things my hand has made, and so all these things came to be, declares Yahweh. But this is the one to whom I will look. He who is humble and contrite in spirit, and who trembles at my word. He who slaughters an ox is like one who kills a man. He who sacrifices a lamb, like one who breaks a dog's neck. He who presents a grain offering, like one who offers pig's blood. He who makes a memorial offering of frankincense, like one who blesses an idol. These have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. So I also will choose harsh treatment for them, and bring their fears upon them. Because when I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they did not listen. But when they did what was evil in my eyes, and chose that in which I did not delight, hear, O the word of Yahweh, you who tremble at his word, your brothers who hate you, and cast you out of my namesake, have said, Let Yahweh be glorified, that we may see your joy. But it is they who shall be put to shame. The sound of an uproar from the city, a sound from the temple, the sound of Yahweh rendering recompense to his enemies. Before she was in labor, she gave birth. Before her pain came upon her, she delivered a son. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such a thing? Shall a land be born in one day? Shall a nation be brought forth in one moment? For as soon as Zion was in labor, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to the point of birth and not cause to bring forth? Says Yahweh. Shall I who cause to bring forth shut the womb? Says your Elohim. Rejoice with Jerusalem, and be glad for her, all you who love her. Rejoice with her in joy, all you who mourn over her, that you may nurse and be satisfied from her consoling breast, that you may drink deeply with delight from her glorious abundance. For thus says Yahweh, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the nations like an overflowing stream. And you shall nurse, you shall be carried up upon her hip, and bounced upon her knee. As one whom his mother comforts, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. You shall see, and your heart shall rejoice. Your bones shall flourish like the grass. And the hand of Yahweh shall be known to his servants, and he shall show his indignation against his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come in fire, and his chariots like the whirlwind, to render his anger in fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire will Yahweh enter into judgment, and by his sword will with all flesh. Those slain by Yahweh shall be many. Those who sanctify and purify themselves to go into the garden, following one in the midst, eating pig's flesh, and the abomination and mice shall come to an end together, declares Yahweh. For I know their works and their thoughts, and the time is coming to gather all nations and tongues. They shall come and see my glory, and I will set a sign among them, and from them I will send survivors to the nations, to Tarshish, Put, and Lud, who draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the coastlands far away, that have not heard my fame or seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the nations. And they shall bring all your brothers from all the nations as an offering to Yahweh, on horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and on mules, and on dromedaries, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, says Yahweh, just as the Israelites bring their grain offerings in a clean vessel to the house of Yahweh. And some of them also I will take for priests and for Levites, says Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make shall remain before me, says Yahweh, so shall your offspring and your name remain. From new moon to new moon, and from Sabbath to Sabbath, all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. They shall go out and look on the dead bodies of the men that have rebelled against me, for their worm shall not die, and their fire shall not be quenched. And they shall be an abhorrence to all flesh.
I had dreams about that. But pretty wretched dreams, but well, should we just keep reading because we're a little bit earlier than I thought we would be? We got like 15 more minutes before noon. You guys want to just keep going through the Brit HaDasha? Yeah? All right. Yeah, let's do Matthew 21.
Matthew 21, 7, 17. Matthew 21, 7. And brought the donkey and the colt, and put on them their clothes, and they set thereon. And a very great multitude spread their garments, the way others cut down branches from the trees and strewed them in the way. The multitudes that went before, that followed, cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of Yahweh. Hosanna in the highest. And when he is come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is Yahshua, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. And Yahshua went into the temple of Yahweh, and cast out all them that sold and brought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests, scribes, saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased, and said unto him, Hearest thou what they say? And Yeshua said unto them, Yea, have you ever read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings thou hast perfected praise? And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany and lodged there.
I had, I don't know if you heard this, but I heard that was the procession that they did for the high priest on Yom Kippur. And they were doing it for him instead of them, and that's why they got indignant.
John 3, 9 through 21.
All right.
Nicodemus answered and said to him, How is it possible for this to take place? Yeshua answered and said to him, Are you the teacher of Israel, and you do not know this? Truly, truly, I say to you, we speak what we know and witness what we have seen, and you do not receive our witness. If you do not believe when I spoke to you about earthly matters, how are you going to believe when I speak to you about heavenly matters? And no one has gone up into the heaven, except he who has come down from the heaven, son of Adam. And Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness. Even so, the son of Adam has to be lifted up, so that whoever is believing in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish, but possess everlasting life. For Elohim did not send his Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He who believes in him is not judged, but he who does not believe is judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only brought forth Son of Elohim. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their works were wicked. For everyone who is practicing evil matters hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed. But the one doing the truth comes to the light, so that his works are clearly seen, and that they have been wrought in Elohim.
4:3 through 30. I'll do that one. And he left Yehuda and went away again into Galilee, and he had to pass through Shomeron. So he came to the city of Shomeron called Shechem, near the piece of land Yaakov gave to his son Joseph. And Yaakov's fountain was there. So Yeshua, being wearied from the journey, was sitting at the fountain, and it was about the 6th hour, about noon. And a woman of Shomeron came to draw water. Yeshua said to her, Give me to drink. For his taught ones had gone off into the city to buy food. The woman of Shomeron therefore said to him, How is it that you, being a Yehudi, ask a drink from me, a woman of Shomeron? For Yehudim do not associate with Shomeronim. And Yeshua answered and said to her, If you knew the gift of Elohim, and who is saying to you, Give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And the woman said to him, Master, you have no vessel, and the vessel is, and the well is deep. From where do you have living water? Are you greater than our father Yaakov, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, and his sons and his cattle? And Yeshua answered and said to her, Everyone drinking of this water thirsts again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst. And the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water, springing up to everlasting life. And the woman said to him, Master, give me of this water, so that I do not thirst, nor come here to draw. And Yeshua said to her, Go call your husband, and come here. And the woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yeshua said to her, You have said well, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. And the woman said to him, Master, I see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you people say, that in Yerushalayim is the place where one needs to worship. Yeshua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither worship on this mountain nor in Yerushalayim. You shall neither on this mountain nor in Yerushalayim worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because deliverance is of the Yahudim. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. And Elohim is spirit, and those who worship him need to worship in spirit and truth. And the woman said to him, I know that Messiah is coming, one who is called anointed. When that one comes, he will announce to us all. Yeshua said to her, I who am speaking to you am he. And upon this his taught ones came, and they were marveling that he was speaking with a woman. However, no one said to him, What do you seek? Or why do you speak with her? And the woman left her water jug and went away to the city and said to the men, Come, see a man who told me all that I have done. Is this not the Messiah? And they went out of the city where they were coming. That 30 short stop, right? All right. You want to do 12? 27 through 50?
On 12:27. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour, but for this purpose I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd that stood there and heard it said that it had thundered. Others said, an angel had spoken to him. Yeshua answered, this voice has come for your sake, not mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out. And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So the crowd answered him, we have heard from the law that Hamashiach remains forever. How can you say that the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? So Yeshua said to them, the light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. While you have the light, believe in the light, that you may become sons of light. And when Yeshua had said these things, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him, so that the word spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Lord, who has believed what he heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, for again Isaiah said, he has blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them. Isaiah said these things because he saw his glory and spoke of him. Nevertheless, many even of the authorities believed in him, but for fear of the Pharisees they did not confess it, so that they would not be put out of the synagogue. For they love the glory that comes from man more than the glory that comes from Elohim. And Yeshua cried out and said, whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come into the world as light, so that whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness. If anyone hears my words and does not keep them, I do not judge him. For I did not come to judge the world, but to save the world. The one who rejects me and does not receive my words has a judge. The word that I have spoken will judge him on the last day. For I have not spoken on my own authority, but the Father who sent me has himself given me a commandment, what to say and what to speak. And I know his commandment is eternal life. But I say, therefore, I say as the Father has told me.
I wonder how many people today have this same issue, right? They believe the truth, but they're too scared because of their religious organizations or their family to come out of the organizations they're in on anywhere they go, So we just pray for them to be lifted up and be strong enough to actually have the courage to step out. So I'm gonna pray for the food here, and we can break for food, and we'll come back and we'll do teaching in midrash. All right. Huh? Yeah. Yep. Abba, Father, blessed be your name. Praise be unto you, Father. Thank you for the bounty that you've given us. Thank you for feeding us all the days of our lives, Father. For all nourishment comes from you, Father. And I pray that this food would, that you have provided this day, would nourish the bodies of the people who are here, that their hunger will be sated, and that they would be ready to receive nourishment from the Spirit, Father. Nourish our spirits greater than our flesh, Father, that we may become, do the works of your kingdom and exalt your name, Father. I praise you, Abba. I bless you, Father. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name. Amen. So if we could get food for the little children first, and then elderly people who have a hard time getting around, maybe next, and then everybody else.
Don't be bashful though. We always get in there and get the food.
Get in there and let your fork fly.
Wasn't that on
Mama.
I heard your name wonder.